What does living your optimal life mean for you? I want you to take a moment and really think about it. Close your eyes and visualize what your optimal life looks like. I want you to see it, feel it, smell it, taste it, hear it. Engage all of your senses until you're really living in it. And just take a moment and stay there in that optimal life of yours. Doesn't that feel amazing? Now, what's holding you back from living your optimal life? There's a lot of reasons we don't live our optimal life, be it finances, relationships, our health, our mindset, or something else. We all have obstacles in our lives that are barriers to living our optimal life. I know I do. My name is Shannon Malkin Daniels, and I'm a public speaking, communication, and confidence coach. I help others unlock their potential and confidently share their message with the world. I do this by many times helping them see within themselves what others see and what I see, but they often have trouble seeing for themselves. People don't see how great they are and how much they have to offer to the world. And I get to help them do that every single day. But I didn't always do this. It was a bit of a long and windy journey to get to where I am today. And for those of you who know me well in this group, you know a bit of that story. But now I finally found it and I get to live that purpose every single day. And for me, living and speaking my purpose and sharing my truth with you and with the world is integral to me living my optimal life. And that's what my optimal life looks like. Although I have to admit, I'm still a work in progress. We all are. That's life. It's not a just set it and forget it kind of thing. We don't have a cruise control button for life, and we have to continually work at it. We have to learn and adapt and pivot and improve each and every day. When I opened up this talk, I asked you what the obstacle was that was holding you back from living your optimal life. For me, my obstacle is health. And 6 years ago is really when the journey started. I had my appendix taken out, which is a general routine surgery that many people experience on a daily basis. And unfortunately, that one surgery changed my life indelibly. And it's been a nightmare of continuous pain and agony and doctor's visits and surgeries and tests and so on ever since for the last 6 years. It all started after that surgery with me complaining about pain in my lower right-hand quadrant still. And the doctors were baffled because I didn't have an appendix anymore. How could I possibly have pain on my lower right-hand side? And so I saw dozens of doctors and dozens of specialists from everything you could possibly think of. And I had hundreds of tests done. I've been CT'd and MRI'd and X-rayed and blood tests and all, I mean, you name it, it's been done. They even scanned my brain. And it eventually got to the point where it was so painful that for an entire 8 months of my life, I could not sit in a chair. Think of how little of a thing that is, but how big of a thing that is. It was too painful to sit in a chair. All I could do was lie flat or stand up. And I kept complaining that when I sat, the reason it was so painful was because it felt like someone was taking a metal object and jabbing it into my groin and hip area and just turning it and churning it. And nobody could figure out what was wrong. Not even $1,000 an hour, I don't take insurance specialists could figure out what was wrong. And it was told me that there wasn't a condition that caused that. I was the healthiest person that had walked through their doors. There's nothing wrong with me. My labs are great. I have no structural issues. So they chalked it up to must just be female problems because I had a history of endometriosis and fibroids, or saying it without saying it. It's all in your head. That's our favorites, ladies, right? And then my favorite, though, was you're just constipated. At that point, it had been 4 years. First of all, someone's not constipated for 4 years. Second of all, constipation does not feel like that and does not cause the same pain in the same place repeatedly day after day. That's just not how it works. So I had several surgeries, a handful of surgeries trying to fix the problem, which turned out just all being guesswork and more trauma to my body. To top it off, while I was going through all of this, I was also going through a lot of other really heavy emotional and mental things. I lost my dad, unfortunately, to brain cancer. My dad was my best friend in the entire world. Growing up, when people said, "Who's your best friend?" and I'd say, "My dad's my best friend." And your dad can't be your best friend. Right? My dad was my best friend. I admired him so much. And he was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer while I was going through all of this. And we lost him just 6 months later. Then on top of it, after I lost my dad, I finally got pregnant, a bright spot after being told I had fertility issues. And then I had a miscarriage and lost the baby. And then went to fertility specialists and different doctors trying to figure out how can I get pregnant and have a child, only to be told it would take a miracle. So that's something I had to look at. And then through all this, I had my coaching and consulting business for public speaking and was launching a technology company for presentations and events. So I had a lot going on all at one time, too much, to be honest. And finally, 4.5 years later, a doctor took me in for yet another exploratory surgery. And it was a very short surgery. It was only about an hour in length, and told me, couldn't find anything wrong with you. Except we found these 5 loose titanium staples on the lower right-hand side of your uterus. Turns out I actually was being stabbed by a metal object, 5 of them, in fact, and it wasn't all in my head. So the doctor took those staples out, and I was finally able to sit again. Yay! Unfortunately, the damage had already been done. From nearly 5 years of trauma of those staples being in there, as well as repeated surgeries causing trauma to my body, I developed a condition called complex regional pain syndrome, CRPS. So clearly, through all this, I wasn't living my optimal life. I was now living with a condition, and still am, that is extremely painful and has no cure, only pain management. And I'm trying to figure out, how do I get my optimal life? I wasn't living my optimal life. And I was, in fact, doing quite the opposite with all the things that I was taking on. So how did I deal with it? Well, I threw myself into my work. Let's just do more, Shannon, right? Let's take on all the things. That's a good idea when you're in pain. Let's add some stress. Let's pour some fuel on the fire, right? But as I was taking on all these things, I realized these things weren't optimal for me. They weren't allowing me to live my purpose. And this epiphany happened. I can't live my optimal life if I'm not living my purpose. Sure, optimal may look a bit different for me now with this condition, but it is still possible. And it's possible for you too. So for me, I took a long, hard look at my life and my work. I asked myself, what's working? What's not working? What's making my condition worse? It's a well-known fact that stress causes CRPS to worsen. And I was just loading myself up with a million things that were increasing my stress. And my doctors keep telling me this still to this day, you need to reduce the stress. You have to cut it back if you want to live in less pain and if you want to live your optimal life. And then I also asked myself, then how do I let go of what's not serving me so that I can focus on what is serving me? How do I live my purpose so that I can live my optimal life? And I realized that my purpose is and always has been. And honestly, when I look back, I really knew this all along. I just was resisting that call, trying to do all these things. That purpose is helping others. I get my greatest joy and greatest fulfillment when I am helping others find their confidence, find their voice, share their message, speak their purpose. That's how I get to speak mine. And the big thing for me that I knew that I had to let go was selling the tech company so I could focus on serving my clients. That's the thing that brings me the greatest joy and fulfillment. It's been a very, very difficult decision. This is something I birthed this technology from a baby and have watched it grow and flourish and change and become what it is today. And I grappled with the decision for a long time. It's been years making this decision. But once I finally resolved myself and said, Shannon, you've known this isn't serving you. You know this is holding you back from living your optimal life and living your purpose. Once I finally made that decision, I felt my energy shift. And then when I spoke that into existence, an even greater shift happened. Again, it's still a heart-wrenching decision to make. But I know that once I'm finally able to let the technology business go, and I am now working with a mergers and acquisition specialist to sell it and to do that, I will feel a huge weight lift off of my shoulders. That's how I am taking steps towards living my optimal life. And I want to challenge you today to do the same. Earlier, I asked you to visualize what your optimal life would look like. And then I asked you to jot down some obstacles that are holding you back from getting there. Now I want you to take a few minutes to write down that one big thing that you can do to overcome these obstacles and work towards living your optimal life. For me, that was selling the technology company. So this isn't always an easy decision, that big thing, but it's something you know is there. It's hanging in front of you. So take a moment, think about it, and write down that one big thing that it is for you. Great. Now I want you to write down an action, or maybe it's multiple actions that you can take starting today, right now, to accomplish that one big thing. For me, it was having the courage to put it out into the universe, to speak it into existence, to reach out to my connections and say, this is what I want to do. No, this is what I need to do. And I need your help to get there. Can you help me? I had to ask for help and I had to speak it out into existence. And once I resolved myself to do that, I didn't hem and haw. I didn't wait. I took the steps and I did it. It didn't take a lot of planning or a lot of work. It just took the courage to speak it out, to let people know that this is what I wanted to do and to put it into the universe and then follow through with taking the actions to do that. So now I want you to take a moment and write down the action or actions that you can take today, starting today, to achieve your one big thing. Great. Now we have one final step I want you to do today. I want you to speak your intention out loud. Speak it into existence. Share it in the chat right now with the group. Share it with friends and family and collaborators. Put it on out into the universe and speak your purpose. Speaking your purpose is a scary thing. I'm telling you from experience, it's a very scary thing to put it out there, but it can also be very powerful and freeing. And it's a very important step on your journey toward living your optimal life. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with a few tips to speak your purpose. 3 of them, in fact. First, be honest with yourself. If you're not honest with yourself, it's impossible to know and understand your purpose in this life and what's blocking you from living it. 2, break your bigger goals down into smaller, more manageable chunks to avoid overwhelm. Big goals can be really daunting and lead to frustration and overwhelm. Smaller goals let you see progress and celebrate small wins along the way so that you can feel encouraged to keep going and prevent yourself from giving up. And third and finally, I want you to speak your purpose. Share your intentions and purpose out loud and share it with others. When you do, you'll be more likely to hold yourself accountable to following through, to living your truth, and ultimately achieving your optimal life. If you need a little help along the way, I'm here for you. Just reach out. There's a button there that you can click in the session to book a complimentary 30-minute session with me, or you can go to speaksuccess.com to book a complimentary session with me. And I would be absolutely honored to help you unlock the purpose that lives inside of you, develop a compelling message that conveys that purpose, and to confidently share it with the world. Thank you and have a wonderful summit.